Welcome to Digital Asset News. To get top stories in cryptocurrency, digital assets, and break them down to bite-sized pieces. So today we're not going to do the news. We're going to do some things and more lofty questions to answer. And this really all stems from a comment that I made on my Twitter account, where I said, hey, my crypto account is on fire, bank account is near zero, and I'm pretty happy. Which I think a lot of different people who invest into cryptocurrency digital assets, they really have this same problem that I have, which is they are crypto heavy, and their bank accounts sometimes go a little bit lower than what they would like it to be, and that's just how it is. So this actually was from Dustin Bailey, or D. He says, I started this year with a low percentage in crypto and a high percentage in bank, and I've done literally nothing, and it's flipped. And when I read that, I go, that's pretty much how it, to really get things going is really how it should be done. And I said, hey man, I go, you do the hardest thing. And this is what a lot of people get wrong. You're an investor. Just buy and hold. Don't do anything else. Watch your gains multiply exponentially. It's very easy, but a lot of people get it wrong. And I want to do this video because first of all, I'm not a financial advisor. You shouldn't really, don't listen to me for what I have to say. This is just the things that I am doing personally, and where I've seen a lot of people have the greatest success, which is just to be a buy and hold type of investors. Now, we're going to talk a lot about different things, which is as how much to hold and how much would I be holding and for how long. Well, it really just depends, and we're going to take a look at a couple different factors. But the thing that I thought about when I was talking to D is that when he's talking about is how he got there, and I can just tell you right now, anybody can be a millionaire. It's not as hard as you think. It just takes time. There's no get-rich-quick schemes. The bigger question, and really the big lofty question, is what do you do when you do not have to go to a job? What do you do when there's really nothing to do? You don't have to do anything. So we talked about this in a video we did about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think it's going to be pretty relevant for a lot of people right now, because when you get a lot of money coming in, it's like, well what do I do now? And I had the same problem when I moved to Vegas, and I kind of lay it out in this video. So I will link this at the very end. But really, like I said, that is like the biggest lofty question is, what do you do? The smaller question is how do we get there? And this article summed up everything pretty easily. And it was called, this is how a janitor, a librarian, or a teacher can amass millions and become multimillionaires. And this is how they did it. And we've all heard these types of stories, but I really wanted to break it down and just talk to you about how real simple it can be. So a lot of people on the internet, they make things way more complex than they need to be. It's actually very easy to make things complex. It's very hard to make things simple. This is exactly what Steve Jobs would always talk about. And they worked very hard to simplify things. So I don't know why people, they make it so difficult. Maybe it's because the more difficult you make things, the easier it is for people to rely on you. So you're like, oh, it's super difficult. You can only listen to me. So that's just how it is. But anyhow, this was a pretty good article and just breaks it down into 4 pieces. And they give a pretty nice intro here, but I'm going to skip it because there's better stories. The first one is live well below your means. And I'm going to pretty much skip over this because I think we've all heard that to death, right? Nobody needs to go out there and buy a super expensive car and house because what is it really going to do for you, right? I mean, it's a great status thing, but the people that had amassed these millions, librarians and clerks and things like that, they just lived well below their means, like way, way below. We'll talk about that in a second. But I mean, I think we all know to avoid the Starbucks and not do too much. But I got to tell you, Starbucks really is good. I mean, if you're having a shitty day and you're just looking around, you're like, okay, what can I do? Like a nice little pick me up. Boom, Starbucks. Yeah, it's going to cost you, but I mean, I'm not going there every single day, so whatever. You got to take care of yourself a little bit. That's all I'm going to say. The second one is, and this is the big one, just invest early and invest often. What do we mean? We know to invest early. I mean, if you want to be like an early investor in like an ICO, I mean, good for those guys. Those guys made out like bandits. But this one is where these guys, and I think you could really benefit. And it talks about sacred millionaires know how to hang on to stocks for the long haul instead of selling when the market dips. And that is the beauty of crypto, is that it is like the proving ground for everyone to understand how to buy dips. Like, I really think that if you want to go into traditional markets, that you should start with crypto first. Because if you can make it in crypto, you can make it anywhere. Because, I mean, there are massive dips, there is massive volatility, and like 20 to 30%, like I've always said, 20-30% on the traditional side is like, I'm going to jump out a window. 20-30% on crypto is a Tuesday. It's not a big deal. So, I mean, start right here, and that is what it is. So these guys, these, simple people, they just said, hey, I don't really care about dips. I'm just going to keep buying, or I will just buy when it dips. This person, Gremmel, whoever that is in the story, purchased $1,000 worth of Walgreens stock and held on to it for 70 years. 70 years. So that is the big thing. I mean, if you can buy and hold, it's going to go up massively. Brooklyn locals Donald Othmeyer, professor, and his wife Mildred, they amassed hundreds of millions stemming from Berkshire Hathaway. These were stocks they invested into for just $42 back in the 60s, and today one share is worth $280,000. So it's not just important that you invest early and often, it's also important that you invest into the right types of things. And that's pretty much why you're here in this channel. You're just trying to figure it all out. And I don't blame you. So these millionaires don't just avoid timing the market, they also reinvest their dividends. And this was the very big thing that I wanted to get to. So when these people invested, like the one at the very beginning, they purchased $1,000 worth of Walgreens. The other ones, they did Berkshire Hathaway. They were paid in dividends. And they said, okay, do you want to cash out? Do you just want to cash, or do you want to reinvest? And they always said the same thing. Reinvest whatever I get from these stocks and put it right back in. And it was just a flywheel effect. And this is all about compounding interest over time, and this is really the secret sauce and the magic. And this is why I'm always talking about Celsius. This is actually why I'm also talking about Voyager, because when you put your money into those two exchanges, well, Voyager is a broker, you get paid in either Celsius or into like-minded or a cryptocurrency. So that's what I'm talking about. In the link, there's a link in the description of every one of my videos, exchange of wallet fees. It's going to take you here. And just so you know, Voyager and Celsius are my 1-2 punch. But here's the thing. Instead of you cashing out, because you've got, let's say you got Bitcoin on Voyager, well, you're going to get paid 5.5%. You're going to pay 5.5%, and it's going to go right back into Bitcoin. You're not going to get dollars. They're going to give you it back to you right back in Bitcoin, which is the exact same thing these other people did. With Celsius, it's 6.2% for sell, or if you want it in Bitcoin, it's 4.7%. So it all depends on where you're at. Like Americans right now, we can't earn in Celsius. We can just earn in Bitcoin to Bitcoin, Ethereum to Ethereum. Stable coins, 8% or 14%, 13.86%. It just depends. So this is why it's so important that you understand, like, well, why would I put it there? Why would I get that? Oh, it's because it just keeps adding in. So like, let's say you have one Bitcoin, then you make 5.5%. Now you got 1.0005, and then you're earning interest on that, and interest on that, interest on that. And before you know it, you're like, wow, I got 2 Bitcoin. Wow, I got 3 Bitcoin. It's amazing. So, I mean, pretty tough right now, but let's just take a look at like something like VGX or Ethereum or basic attention token, something like that. You could definitely start to really compound it, and who knows what that's going to be in like 3, 5, 10 years. That's why I talk about it's not inconceivable or outside the realm of possibility of people being millionaires, especially in crypto and digital assets, just for doing these very simple things: buying and holding, buying during the dips, putting it into somewhere where it can gain yield, and before you know it, you're like, wow, look at all this money that I got. Not too bad. Anyhow, that was the whole thing there. So then the other thing was, this was 2 important things. I think it's because it really talks about what are you going to do afterwards. And this talks about earn more on the side. So not only did they invest, but they also did other things on top of their regular job. Some might call that a side hustle. So Donald Othmeyer netted extra income with his side gigs as an investor. Leonard Gigowski, a butcher in Milwaukee, earned enough from investing in his grocery store stock to eventually purchase the store, a nightclub, a dance studio, and residential properties. And that's huge, right? Because if you can do all those types of things, there is nothing better than having passive income. But you know what's even better than passive income? Having multiple streams of revenue for passive income. It's like the best of all time. So like for me personally, like we have this channel that works out okay. I've got a nursing education platform where I teach nursing students how to pass a clinical exam through an online education platform. I also do Amazon FBA. I also do investment properties, and we have a sports facility. So all these different things that are out there, it's multiple streams of income, and when one is hurting, other one picks up the slack, and so on and so forth. So you're never stuck into one thing, and that's another thing that we like to talk about here is diversification. So I stay here with passive income like real estate. You don't have to do any work. Carbonaro says, aside from maintenance and expenses, you just sit back and collect a check, and that's true. Investment properties are one of the greatest things. So this leads me to my next point about, we did a video which talked about the ultimate cash out strategy, and I talked to you about not just putting everything in cash, but into stable coins because of what we just talked about, gaining yield, also purchasing land, homes, the Amazon FBA, staking for cryptocurrencies, and my big one was crypto IRA. So I will link that at the end, and I'll explain all those different types of things. But the home and properties, that is a big thing. And the next sentence, what they say here is, they say Airbnb, for example, makes it easy to add a passive income stream by renting out extra space or your entire place when you're away. So you'll notice here, 20% investment properties. We've got a couple homes right now where we do Airbnb. And even with the coronavirus, I don't know when you're going to watch this. Right now it is, what is it? It is Friday, February 5th, 2021. So there was this thing called coronavirus. If you're watching this later, it totally sucked. It kind of wiped out the economy for quite some time. But it was great for Bitcoin because there was a bunch of quantitative easing and all the different money printing. It doesn't matter. But so when all this was happening, we thought that people wouldn't be able to rent our home because of Airbnb, and people would be not traveling as much. And it did for a bit. It slowed down, but then we found out that people still needed a place to rent because they got shuffled around for their jobs, or they needed to come and see a family that was sick, or there was an event that they had to go to, or whatever it was. So they would rent out our homes. And right now, the vaccine's just rolling out, still doing okay. I think as time goes on, especially with the vaccine really getting pummeled through, you're going to see a lot of people want to travel. And with travel means Airbnb, or they can do hotels, but I like just staying in people's homes. It's cheaper, and especially if I travel with a large group, works out pretty well for me. And it's just one of those things I think could potentially happen. It's also why I invested into Airbnb stock. I think it'll go up pretty well because they just IPO'd a couple months ago. That's another thing. So this is what we talk about as far as multiple streams of revenue. I can see it. Definitely how you can become a millionaire just by investing, yields, diversification. And the next part, and the last part here, is improve your financial IQ. So reading investing news, talking with like-minded friends, and seeking counsel. And you're on this YouTube video, or you're at danteachescrypto.com watching this video, and this is where you come for like-minded people. In the comments below, say whatever you like, but all the people that are here pretty much have pretty much the same mindset of, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to put my my funds into, because I feel like I can grow it. So it's always good to be around like-minded people because you can kind of share that same dream. And I think whatever your dream is, usually it is to go up or increase in price for cryptos. This is a great channel for that. So lastly, it's Robert Moore, a librarian in New Hampshire with a $4 million estate, befriended a financial advisor who encouraged him to invest instead of putting all his earnings into checking and savings accounts, which they don't give any type of interest these days. I think banks are going to go to the wayside just like Blockbuster did. So we'll see. Again, putting it into a place where you can gain a bunch of yield is one of the great things. So this was just a basic overview of how to do those things, but there's a flip side to that. So first of all, you look at these people, librarian, teacher, they're not anything where they would accumulate a ton of money, but they were able to, at the very end, to amass a small fortune. So what does that say for, other people who already have a bunch of money? So there was this story I never forgot. It was called From CEO to Pizza delivery guy, which is nothing wrong with delivering pizza. I did that in college. It was great. But this was a story about Ken Cartman. He was making $750,000 a year. $750,000 a year as a CEO. Then they stayed a perfect financial storm hit. He tried to start his own hedge fund right before the economy began its nosedive. So first of all, diversification. If you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, make sure it is the best basket you can potentially find, because this here Cartman, he had a problem. You know, it is weird though, because like LinkedIn was started during the 2008-2009 financial crisis, and they did okay. But I guess hedge funds, not so much. Anyhow, pretty soon he was having trouble putting food on the table for his wife and kids, even though the table sits in a gigantic mansion in Clearwater, Florida. He begged a local restaurant to give him a job delivering pizzas for $7.29 an hour plus tips, and he said yes. So they said yes, and that is how he was able to survive for quite a while. And he got back on his feet, but it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how much money you have at any one point. It is really about what you do with that money moving forward. So this is one of my fears for everybody on this channel. Again, not financial advice, but I remember when I lived in Las Vegas, I was looking for a house to buy, and I went onto the south side of Vegas, and I was looking for some pretty decent houses. And the guy that was selling it, I asked him, I go, hey, why are you selling this house? It's pretty nice. He's like, hey, you just want to move? He's like, just having some problems here. He goes, he said he made millions in his life doing investment properties. And then he took all that money and put it into one investment situation someplace outside of Vegas, or no, it was outside of Arizona, where he put he said he put almost $5 million into it. And then something happened with the city and it got shut down, and then financial ruin, and then blah, blah, blah. So to me, I always think to myself, even if everybody here on this channel, everybody, all my 100K, 1,000 subscribers, everybody becomes a millionaire. I don't think everybody's going to stay a millionaire, because they're going to be like, easy come, then easy go. So it's one of those things where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And that is the big thing about, just be careful of what you want to do. And that's why I talk about diversification when we had it right here on that video. Again, I'll link at the very end. So those are the big things. And then lastly, or a couple lastly, I want to say two things. And that is that when we talk about living below your means, you still have to live. So this is one of the stories that we got. The librarian in the couple stories back, he amassed $4 million as a simple librarian, which is fine. But what did he do to get there? Well, he lived alone. He drove a 1992 Plymouth, nothing wrong with that, and never went out. Okay, he would have some Fritos and a Coke for breakfast, a quick cheese sandwich at the library, and he would go home and have a frozen dinner, because he only knew how to work the microwave. So if you want to do that type of thing, you can definitely make millions, but it would be a pretty crappy life. And it's like what my friend, my friend Diddy always says, when in doubt, zoom out. Diddy was the guy, he's been on the show a couple of times, he's a great guy. He was the one that sold all his stuff in the early 2017, his home, his cars, and everything else, and put it all into Bitcoin. And he didn't just sit there and watch, click the refresh and just watch all the money go up. Well, I'm sure he did it for a while. But you see his videos where he's in Portugal, he's doing a lot of cool stuff, on the beach all the time, traveling with the family, doing great things. These are the things that we should really be trying to amass. It is not so much about amassing a fortune or massive amounts of money. It is about just having those freedom units, or dollars, or however you want to call them, that allow you to actually do the thing that you really want to do, instead of just stuck in some place in some junk job that you hate, and the boss that you can't stand, and everything else. So that is it. That is it for today's video, and hopefully that hits home and gives you a little bit something to think about. Anyhow, put comments below. I will link those two videos, and that is it for today. But hey, if you watch all the way to the end, hey, congratulations, you made it. I want you to hit the thumbs up, that would help, and then consider subscribing. A lot of things that we talk about are pretty time-sensitive, news and different happenings that go on, so definitely consider that. And that is all for right now. So I'll put the two videos up, and that is all. Thanks so much. See you in the next one.